The Krenim Empire bit off more than they could chew when they brutally massacred the human colony on Athena Prime. Commander Jeremy Mitchell was going to make damn sure those Krenim bastards choked on the ashes of their own empire before this was over. The distress signal came in the middle of the night cycle. Jeremy jolted awake, the flashing red emergency comm lights in his quarters telling him this was no drill. He slammed the comm panel. "What's the situation, Lieutenant?" "Sir, urgent distress call from Athena Prime Colony. They are under heavy attack by Krenim forces. Civilians are being slaughtered as we speak. They're begging for immediate assistance." Jeremy was already pulling on his combat armor. "Sound General Quarters. I want my strike team in the briefing room in 5. Prep the retribution for immediate departure." He stormed into the briefing room 4 minutes later. His team was assembled, their faces grim. They knew what was at stake. Countless innocent lives hung in the balance. "Listen up. Athena Prime is under siege by those Krenim fuckers. They're butchering civilians left and right. We're the closest rapid response force. I want the retribution at maximum burn to the colony yesterday. We go in heavy and fast. Deploy by combat drop. Shoot anything that's not human. We need to secure any survivors and push those alien shit stains off the colony. Let's move." The retribution, humanity's most advanced warship, screamed through hyperspace towards the besieged colony. But even at maximum FTL, it would take hours to reach Athena Prime. Jeremy paced the bridge like a caged tiger, his gut twisting at the thought of the massacre unfolding while they raced the clock. When they finally dropped out of hyperspace near Athena Prime, the orbital screens showed a hellscape. The colony was in ruins, fires raging across the surface. Krenim landing ships disgorged troops and assault craft into the ravaged cities, hunting down the last desperate survivors. "All strike teams, deploy, deploy, deploy!" Jeremy roared into the comm as he sprinted to his own combat drop shuttle. The Retribution shuddered as dozens of shuttles blasted from its launch bays, screaming towards the burning planet below. Jeremy's shuttle hit the ground hard. The hatch blew open, and his team charged out with weapons raised. All around them, the ruins of the colony smoldered. Distant screams and weapons fire echoed through the shattered streets. A group of Krenim soldiers rounded a corner ahead, plasma rifles raised. Jeremy's team opened fire without hesitation. The air flashed blinding white as a storm of relativistic flechettes ripped the aliens to bloody shreds before they could even shoot. "No mercy!" Jeremy bellowed as he kicked through a door into a half-collapsed habitat module. Inside, a trio of Krenim had a human family on their knees. One alien pressed a plasma pistol to a crying child's head. Jeremy didn't waste time on a threat. His rifle coughed once, and the Krenim's skull vaporized in a mist of boiling blue blood. His team mowed down the other two aliens before they could blink. As the family sobbed with relief, Jeremy's comm snapped with urgent chatter from the other teams. Fierce fighting raged across the ruined colony, but the strike teams were pushing the Krenim back. These alien bastards were getting their first taste of what it meant to face humanity's wrath. Suddenly, proximity alarms yowled. A massive warship decloaked in orbit, a Krenim dreadnought. Jeremy recognized it instantly. The personal ship of Primus, the sadistic Krenim commander infamous for slaughtering entire colonies. "Commander Mitchell!" A deep, cruel voice crackled across the comm. Primus himself. "You fight well for primates, but this colony was merely bait for a trap. My true armada is already in hyperspace, hurtling towards your pitiful Earth. Soon, your homeworld will burn, and your species will toil forever as our slaves. Athena Prime is not a battle, merely the first small cut to let your species bleed. Savor this tiny victory, for it shall be your last." White-hot rage surged through Jeremy's veins. He opened a comm channel to all human forces. "Soldiers of Earth, the Krenim have us dancing to their tune. This slaughter was just a distraction. The real blow is coming, and it's aimed at the heart of humanity itself." He gritted his teeth, gripping his rifle until his knuckles went white. "They mean to make an example of us, to cow us into submission by raising Earth and enslaving our entire species. They think we'll break. that will cower and plead when our homeworld is threatened. But I swear to you, that is not our way. We do not bend. We do not kneel. When our species is backed into a corner, when our very future is at stake, we fight. Jeremy took a deep breath, the weight of the looming war heavy on his shoulders. I know the path ahead will be soaked in blood and pain. The Krenim are vicious bastards. They have numbers and cruelty on their side. But they have never faced humanity when our gloves come off. This is no longer about borders or resources or petty galactic politics. This is about our survival. He closed his eyes for a moment, seeing the faces of the dead colonists, the burning cities, the weeping children. When he opened them again, they blazed with defiant fire. So we will meet them over Earth, and we will unleash our full fury. Every weapon, every ship, every soldier, down to the last man, woman, and child. The Krenim want to fight to the bitter end? Then by every god and devil in the cosmos, we will give them one. Jeremy raised his rifle high. No mercy, no quarter, no hesitation. We end this once and for all. One way or another, only one species will walk away from that battle. And by every drop of human blood they have spilled, I swear it will be us. A resounding battle cry went up from the human soldiers and echoed across the stars. Jeremy looked to the skies, to the distant glimmer of Sol, and made a silent oath. Primus, you merciless bastard, I'm coming for you. No matter what it takes, humanity will make your thrice-damned empire choke on its last breath before this is over. That is my solemn promise. Jeremy's fingers flew across the comm console, his voice tight with urgency as he relayed the dire news to Earth's leadership. This is Commander Mitchell, Krenim invasion force inbound to Sol. Repeat, massive Krenim fleet en route to Earth. We need every ship, every soldier mobilized now. The response was immediate. Emergency alerts blared across every settlement and outpost in human space. On Earth, air raid sirens wailed as the grim message spread. Humanity faced extinction if they failed to repel this attack. For the first time in centuries, petty conflicts between nations were set aside in the face of this existential threat. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session, unanimously voting to pool all military resources under a unified command structure. Massive orbital shipyards that had lain dormant for decades roared to life, churning out warships and fighters at a feverish pace. Volunteer centers were flooded as civilians lined up to join the fight. In low Earth orbit, the newly assembled human armada was an awe-inspiring sight. Hundreds of capital ships formed up in tight battle groups, their hulls filled with energy weapons and missile pods. Swarms of fighters and corvettes darted between the larger vessels, running combat drills around the clock. Meanwhile, Jeremy led his strike team on a high-risk mission behind enemy lines. Their stealth ship slipped undetected through Krenim space, zeroing in on a heavily fortified command center. "Breach charges set," his demolitions expert whispered. "On your signal, Commander." Jeremy nodded grimly. "Light it up." The reinforced blast doors disintegrated in a thunderous explosion. Jeremy's team poured through the gap, their advanced combat suits giving them superhuman speed and strength as they engaged the Krenim defenders in brutal close-quarters combat. Plasma bolts sizzled past Jeremy's head as he dove for cover behind an alien computer bank. He popped up, his rifle spitting hypervelocity flechettes that shredded a pair of Krenim warriors. All around him, his team was locked in furious hand-to-hand struggles with the alien defenders. Despite being outnumbered 3-1, the humans' superior training and technology proved decisive. Within minutes, the command center was secured. Jeremy quickly accessed the main computer core, his eyes widening as he absorbed the terrifying scope of the Krenim war machine bearing down on Earth. "My God," he breathed. "They're ships. They can reduce entire continents to ash in minutes." But mixed with the dread was a spark of hope as he uncovered a critical weakness. The Krenim vessels relied on an exotic crystal found only on their homeworld for power. Without it, their mighty armada would be crippled. The intel in hand, Jeremy's mind raced as he formulated a daring counterstrike. They would hit the Krenim where it hurt most, a massive assault on their homeworld to seize control of the crystal mines and bring their war machine grinding to a halt. As the combined fleets of humanity made final preparations for the do-or-die attack, Jeremy addressed his troops. The weight of all human history seemed to rest on his shoulders as he spoke. "Today we fight not just for our lives, but for the very future of our species," he said, his voice steady and perseveranced. "The Krenim thought to make us kneel, to burn our worlds and break our spirits. But they have never faced humanity unleashed. Today, we show these alien bastards what it truly means to awaken the sleeping giant of Earth." A thunderous cheer went up from the assembled warriors. As Jeremy strode towards his command ship, he knew many of these brave men and women would not return. The battle ahead would push them all to their limits and beyond. But failure was not an option. One way or another, this conflict would decide the fate of humanity, and Jeremy vowed that at any expense, Earth would still be standing when the smoke cleared. Jeremy's stealth ship cut through the inky blackness of space, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Krenim sensors. Inside, he and his elite strike team ran through final equipment checks, their faces grim with the weight of their mission. "We hit hard and fast," Jeremy briefed his team. "Neutralize the guards, seize the control center, overload the core. No room for error." They touched down silently on the outskirts of the sprawling mining complex. Jeremy's team moved like ghosts through the night, their advanced stealth suits bending light around them. They approached the first guard post. Jeremy gave the hand signal. In perfect sync, his team struck. Silenced weapons coughed softly. The Krenim guards crumpled without a sound. They penetrated deeper into the facility. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Intruder alert! Humans detected!" A hail of plasma fire erupted from multiple directions. Jeremy dove behind a crystal storage container. "Return fire! Push to the control center!" The air filled with the buzz of hypervelocity flechettes as Jeremy's team unleashed their arsenal. Krenim warriors fell in droves, their armor no match for the human weapons. As they neared the control center, a massive Krenim stepped into view. Commander Vikar, his eyes blazing with hate. "I will mount your head on my wall, human," Vikar snarled. Jeremy charged, dodging Vikar's plasma sword. He slammed into the Krenim, grappling furiously. They traded savage blows, neither willing to yield. Finally, Jeremy saw his opening. He hooked Vikar's leg and slammed him to the ground. A quick strike to the throat left the Krenim commander gasping. "Control center secure," one of Jeremy's team called out. Jeremy sprinted to the main console. His fingers flew across the alien controls, initiating an overload sequence. "Time to go," he shouted. They fought their way towards the extraction point. Suddenly, the facility rocked with explosions. The overload had begun. As they neared their ship, the sky lit up. Earth's armada had arrived. Massive energy beams lanced between vessels. Fighters swarmed like angry insects. The space above the Krenim homeworld became a maelstrom of destruction. Jeremy's team was almost to safety when the tunnel collapsed. Vikar's last spiteful act. Pinned down, cut off, Jeremy knew there was only one option left. He pulled out the experimental weapon. "It's been an honor," he told his trapped comrades. Jeremy activated the device. A beam of pure antimatter erupted, boring into the planet's core. The ground buckled, fissures opened, spewing magma. As the Krenim homeworld began to tear itself apart, Jeremy closed his eyes. His sacrifice would not be in vain. Humanity would survive. High above, the human fleet pressed its advantage. Krenim ships exploded by the dozens, their power crystals depleted. On the bridge of his flagship, Primus seethed with rage. He would not go quietly. With the last of his power, he targeted Earth itself. On the bridge of the Retribution, Lieutenant Riker's fingers flew across the control panel. "Override code Alpha Zulu 903, he barked. "Engaging experimental warp drive now." The ship lurched violently as it catapulted through space at mind-bending speed. Crew members gripped their stations, faces tight with tension. Through the view screen, stars blurred into streaks of light. Krenim flagship dead ahead, the tactical officer reported. They're charging their planet killer. Riker's face hardened. Evasive pattern Delta. All power to forward shields and hull plating. The Retribution danced through the debris field, narrowly avoiding collisions as it closed the distance. Krenim weapons fire lanced past, unable to get a solid lock. Brace for impact, Riker shouted. Deploying neutronium plating. A shudder ran through the ship as the reinforced hull snapped into place. The Retribution plowed into the Krenim vessel like a spear, punching through layers of armor and shielding. Alarms blared as the two ships fused together in a tangle of twisted metal. Riker stumbled to his feet, shouting orders. Boarding party with me. We're going in. They raced through the ruptured hull, planting antimatter charges at key points. Sparks and smoke filled the air as systems overloaded around them. On the Krenim bridge, Primus snarled in rage. Overload the core. If we die, we take Earth with us. Riker's team burst onto the bridge in a hail of gunfire. Krenim guards fell in droves, but Primus lunged for the control panel. His finger slammed down on a glowing red button. Too late, humans, he sneered. Riker assessed the situation in an instant. There was only one option left. He sealed his exosuit, activating the thrusters. It's been an honor, he told his team. With a roar of jets, Riker launched himself into the pulsing heart of the antimatter reactor. The suit's systems strained as he redirected the building energy, containing the blast. A blinding flash erupted, consuming the Krenim flagship. The resulting shockwave ripped outward, scattering debris across space. In the aftermath, the human fleet regrouped. Captains stared in awe at the destruction, realizing how close they'd come to annihilation. But there was no time to mourn. The remaining Krenim ships were in disarray, fleeing in all directions. No quarter, came the order from Earth Command. Wipe them out, all of them. Human vessels surged forward, weapons blazing. They hunted down every last Krenim ship with cold efficiency, leaving nothing but wreckage in their wake. The human fleets converged, their hulls scarred and battered from the ferocious battle. On the bridge of the flagship Intrepid, Admiral Caldwell stood with hands clasped behind his back, his face etched with grim lines. Status report, he barked. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across the holographic display. Sir, we've detected remnants of Krenim forces scattered across 7 nearby systems. Our long-range sensors show they're in disarray, attempting to regroup. Caldwell's eyes narrowed. Deploy hunter-killer squadrons. I want those bastards wiped out to the last ship. As the orders went out, Caldwell turned his attention to the shattered husk of the Krenim homeworld looming before them. The planet's surface was a hellscape of magma and fractured continents. Life signs? He asked softly. Chen hesitated. Yes, sir. Faint but present, deep underground. We estimate fewer than 10,000 survivors. A wave of murmurs rippled through the bridge crew. Captain Reeves stepped forward, his voice low. Admiral, perhaps we should consider mercy. They're no longer a threat. Caldwell's eyes hardened. His mind flashed to the burning colonies, the screams of civilians as Krenim weapons tore through atmosphere and flesh alike. He saw Jeremy Mitchell's face, forever frozen in that last transmission, before sacrificing himself to save Earth. No, Caldwell said, his voice cold as space itself. Prep Lucifer's hammer. Reeves blanched. Sir, that's an experimental weapon. We've never... That's an order, Captain. As the terrible device was readied, Caldwell's fleet formed a tight perimeter around the dying world. There would be no escape for the Krenim survivors huddled in their bunkers far below. Deep within the planet's fractured crust, alarms blared through corridors choked with dust and fear. Krenim civilians clawed at sealed bulkheads, desperate for a way out that didn't exist. Children wailed as the ground shook beneath them. On the Intrepid's bridge, a technician's voice rang out. Lucifer's hammer deployed and operational, sir. Burrowing toward the core now. Caldwell nodded, his face a mask. Proceed. The bridge crew watched in horrified silence as the planet convulsed. Massive chunks of crust tore free, revealing a molten hell beneath. The Cranum homeworld's death throes painted the view screens with apocalyptic light. In mere minutes, it was over. Where a planet had been, only an expanding cloud of superheated debris remained. Caldwell stepped to the comm station, his voice steady as he broadcast across human frequencies. "This is Admiral Caldwell. The Crenum civilization is hereby declared extinct by human intervention. We will hunt down any survivors to the ends of the galaxy if need be. Earth is safe." He paused, swallowing hard. "And to Commander Jeremy Mitchell, your sacrifice will never be forgotten." As the human armada prepared to depart, an uneasy quiet settled over the crews. They had won, but at what cost? The vast debris field stretched before them, a graveyard of two civilizations' hubris. Caldwell gave the order, his voice barely above a whisper. "Take us into Slipstream. Let's go home." The human ships vanished in flashes of light, leaving behind the ashes of an empire and the ghosts of countless dead.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.